Next, Sitting at 30 takes you downtown for the weekly luncheon meeting of the City Club of Portland. Live weekly coverage of City Club is made possible in part by TCI and is produced through the facilities of Portland Cable Access. Now we join the City Club for this week's program.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the City Club and to the State of the City address by our Mayor, Vera Katz. I'm Pete Heuser, President of the City Club. Broadcast of our programs this quarter is made possible as a result of corporate contributions from Providence Health Systems, Portland General Electric, and Wells Fargo Bank. We're certainly very grateful for their support. I'm very pleased to tell you about a change in our programming for next week, January 29th. We're going to host Speaker of the House of Representatives Lynn Snodgrass and Senate President Brady Adams. They're going to talk about the state of the legislature and this year's legislative agenda. So we have one more of our State of programs, and we're happy to add that to the slate. That'll be here at the Multnomah Club. As you know, this month we're involved in a City Club membership drive. So for all of you members who can bring in a new member, you get a free lunch. So such a deal. So take advantage of that. Introduce your friends to the City Club. Our board host today, seated at the head table, is Arnold Kogan. Arnold is managing partner of Kogan, Owens & Kogan. He'll ask the first question of our speaker, and after that we'll open it to City Club members in the audience. And please hold your question to 30 seconds. We'll probably have a number of them. I know we'll run over a little bit today, so please keep your questions short. And for those of you that might have to leave at 1:15, please feel free to do so, but try to be as quiet as you can. I'm excited to be able to introduce Mayor Vera Katz once again to the City Club. In last year's message, Mayor Katz announced bold initiatives to look at providing fareless mass transit, renovating Civic Stadium in hopes of luring Major League Baseball, and capping 405. And we've seen her working hard to guide these projects forward, despite them being labeled by some as mere distractions from the important issues facing us. But the same could have been said about the City Club report, which suggested forming Forest Park, or Tom McCall's efforts to replace Harbor Drive with Waterfront Park. No one could have looked at the models of a capped 405 and not said, wow. And the mayor got that work done for free by the American Society of Landscape Architects. Now, if you missed seeing that a few months ago, we got it out in the hall here so you can take a look at it on your way out. Portland's economy is strong, and Mayor Katz has been an integral part of making it so as a result of her oversight of the PDC. We're experiencing a building boom downtown that I haven't seen in the 20 years I've lived here. Since she last addressed us, Mayor Katz rededicated City Hall, and with Neil Goldschmidt oversaw the negotiations which led to donation by Tom Moyer of a downtown block, when everyone else had resigned themselves to seeing not a park, but another parking ramp. Mayor Katz oversees the Police Bureau, and through the efforts of Chief Moose and his force, homicides are down to a 30-year low. But this year will not be without its challenges. Last week in his State of the Schools address, Ben Canada shared with us many of the fresh ideas and excitement he has been pumping into our school system. But Dr. Canada also talked about having to cut 8% out of his budget at a time when state-mandated skills requirements are kicking in. Last year, Mayor Katz and the City Council were able to provide additional funding for Portland Public Schools, meaningful assistance, but 8% is a big number to make up. Her fareless transit proposal is innovative, but she'll have to wonder about public support in view of public rejection of South-North Light Rail. She's trying to plan these and other major projects, but she's stuck with property tax limitations and the double majority requirement, and is not very easily able to use tax increment financing, which provided much of the funding for prior public developments. But we knew things wouldn't be easy, and that's why we continue to elect Vera Katz. We're justifiably proud of our mayor, and on behalf of the City Club, I extend a warm welcome to you for your 5th annual State of the City address.
Thank you for that nice introduction. Why do we have State of the Union, State of the State, State of the City addresses? I like what Winston Churchill said. The able politician tells you what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and then explains afterward why it didn't happen. So today, I would like to explain that last year, what I really meant to say, that we should cover Portlandia and move I-405. I believe it's useful to take time at least once a year to pause and reflect on where we are and where we need to go together as a city. I want to thank the City Club again for providing me this venue, you, the citizens of Portland, for this opportunity, and my staff and all the city staff for their excellent work. And I would like to have my staff and the rest of the city staff please stand up and be acknowledged by this community. Thank you. In 1999, Portland has much to be grateful for. The state of our city is strong. Neighborhood livability has improved. Our economy is weathering well the Asian economic flu. Student academic performance is on the rise. Our city is safer than it has been in decades. But a great city is more than a list of accomplishments. A great city never stands still. A great city keeps an unflinching eye on its future. And a truly great city sets out to control its destiny, not be controlled by it. That's why I insist that as great as Portland is, on any given day, month, or year, I want it to become even greater. That's why my leadership mantra is vision with action can change the world. And for our piece of the world called Portland, I envision a more prosperous city that is affordable to all of its citizens, a city of clean rivers, air, and land enriched by arts and culture, a city of world-class public schools, a city offering the best of urban life, a city that is easy to get around in, with a central city that serves the state and the region as a hub for commerce and trade, a more diverse city, free of discrimination, a city with thriving main streets and entrepreneurs, a well-planned city that is physically beautiful and architecturally exciting, and a city that is civically involved with people who care about and look out for each other. I firmly believe that with the right actions, and all of us taking action, we can realize this vision even in the face of growth and change, while meeting our obligations to the rest of the region. Many of our recent actions demonstrate solid progress towards our vision. This afternoon, I will report on those efforts and what is to come in Portland's next millennium. However, before doing that, I want to raise for discussion two underlying threats to our density. Destiny. Density is also could be a threat, but it's destiny that I want to talk about today. They are the threats of urban-rural antagonism and the complacency of success. Often, when we from the Portland area travel to other parts of Oregon, we are told the state gives Portland special treatment. Portland schools drain money out of our school districts. West Side Light Rail shortchanged other needy transportation projects, and the list goes on and on. This is not just harmless sibling rivalry. It is time to clear the air with some facts. The Portland region contributes 54% of the state's revenues, yet it receives back only 40% of the state's budget. The difference adds up to millions of dollars from people in the Portland area to support services for Oregonians, from Baker City to Brookings, from Astoria to Ashland. Now, do not misunderstand me. I'm not complaining that our taxes help the rest of the state. We are one Oregon, and we are in it all together. However, I do object to those who would ignore these facts, stoke the fire of urban-rural antagonism, and seek to turn other Oregonians against Portland for their own political purpose. In fairness, we Portlanders must take our share of the responsibility for the state of relations with the rest of Oregon. Portland in years past focused on our own challenges and didn't pay enough attention to the plight of economically depressed areas of the state. For that, on behalf of the city of Portland, I offer sincere apologies. We are changing our ways. Members of the City Council, the Portland Chamber of Commerce, the American Leadership Forum have traveled the state to bridge the urban and rural divide. 2 years ago, I helped build the Coalition for School Funding Now, a truly statewide coalition of over thousands of parents and teachers and students, businesses, and community leaders. We were successful in convincing the last legislature to give $680 million more for Oregon schools than even the governor proposed. But during this legislative session, I intend to do more with the help of my colleagues and the City Council. I will lobby in support of more resources for economic development for those areas of the state that have not been part of our economic boom. Because the lasting solution to this urban-rural antagonism is to bring the rest of the state up to our economic level, not push the Portland area down. As we bask in the national accolades for providing a high quality of life, Portland can ill afford to act like a content, over-complimented diva. At the Central City Summit, I said that by pointing out and grappling with this city's imperfections, you will not be a traitor for the cause of promoting Portland. Just the opposite. For 1999, I suggest that we stop reading our own national press because we do not have the luxury, as Yogi Berra said, to leave the status quo as is. We need to guard against complacency on every front. I fear its effects in the area where we are the most admired, long-range planning. For we stand little chance of controlling our destiny if we cannot effectively plan for it. To prevent planning complacency, I will work with the community and Commissioner Charlie Hales, who has just completed an excellent overhaul of the city's permit process, to improve it, to strengthen it, and to reinvent it. We need to put planning in charge of planning. 7 different bureaus work independently on 7 different planning tasks. Planning in our bureau silos must stop. We have neglected public discourse over the past few years, and the result is citizen mistrust and anxiety over future growth. The last citywide planning outreach effort, Portland Future Focus, was completed almost 10 years ago. I believe Future Focus 2 will renew public discourse. We don't need outside experts. We just need all of us to struggle with the trade-offs we face every single day and to build a sound citywide strategic plan. We need to reinvent long-range planning beyond its traditional land use regulations. It needs to take into account more of the day-to-day concerns, such as the needs of family, jobs, public safety, and education. It needs to reflect the values of our people. Our top planning goal should be our quality of life. Long-range planning is the stuff a good city is made of, and I will not let the complacency of our success eat away at it as long as I'm mayor. In May, I will propose a new charter for long-range planning that keeps it at the top of the city's organization. And next year, as we start the Millennium Celebration, I will ask each Portlander to participate in Portland Future Focus 2. Shaping destiny is not a spectator sport, and I believe the best antidote for complacency is action. I focus my actions on jobs, transportation, public safety, education, and livability. Jobs. Portland's economy is robust. 16 construction cranes loom over the city skyline, building retail stores, office space, housing, hotels, and an East Side waterfront park. Public and private improvements are being made in every neighborhood. And Fortune magazine ranks our region as one of the best places in the nation for business. However, despite our successes, we have some serious challenges. And as I've always said, the best time to tackle those challenges is while the economy is strong. Continued action is required to improve the vitality of the Central City. That's two of you. The Central City is the economic bedrock on which our citywide, regional, and much of the state economy is based. Improving it merits our full effort, because while the city as a whole, it's meeting its job goals, the Central City is not. We created only 1,600 jobs last year in the downtown area, and our target, our goal, is 3,400. At the summit, we outlined a vision for the Central City to serve as the region's hub of commerce, tourism, transportation, and the arts, a complete neighborhood of mixed housing, quality retail, schools, and parks. This year, we will complete an assessment of that visionary work, which will tell us where the gaps are and recommend what our priorities should be. But we won't wait for that assessment in order to move forward on some fundamental economic improvements for our city. We must expand the Oregon Convention Center. The prosperity of the Central City and workers throughout the region will be imperiled if large conventions continue to pass us by because our facility is too small. Now, the region's voters said no to increasing their property taxes to expand the center. And I respect that decision, but I do want to find another way than using property taxes to get the job done. I'm at work now with convention and business leaders to examine alternative financing options. I am very optimistic about our ability to get this done, and to get this done in very short order. I want to establish Portland as the creative services capital of the Pacific Northwest. We are moving to a knowledge-based economy. Creative services such as internet design, advertising, film and video, and software and multimedia are a natural tie to both of our arts and our high-tech industry. When Wyden and Kennedy won the Diet Coke account 3 weeks ago, that was a win for Portland. And each time Will Vinton produces a new television program, it shows that Portland's creative businesses can have a worldwide impact and make an economic difference at home. Creative services provide good jobs, bring companies into the downtown, and they will choose to go downtown, not to cruise way. To get things moving, I recently hosted a summit of our creative services industry leaders. I would like to see a strategy to provide pre-wired, flexible office space at below market rents, a loan fund for creative service business startups, incentives to upgrade buildings or older buildings to seismic code, and a strong tie to advanced training and studies at Portland State University. We must also respond to the effects of corporate mergers and consolidations. I'm sure I'm not the only one who dreads opening the business page every morning. In the Central City, we lost an estimated 3,500 jobs in 1996 and in 1997 due to mergers and consolidations. City government really has no official power to stop these actions, but I won't stand still, and I know my city council won't stand still and just accept Portland becoming a city of only branch office operations. In response to the merger mania, we need to help our existing businesses remain strong and flourish. To that end, I'm pleased to announce the availability of $48 million of an employment opportunity fund derived from tax increment resources to assist Central City businesses. It will provide loans, land acquisition grants, and other business assistance that supports local employers over the next 5 years. I also propose we become more aggressive, recruiting the corporate and regional headquarters of our existing companies in Portland. Our recruitment efforts paid off when Adidas decided to settle in North Portland and PGT and KinderCare came to downtown. My next 2-year budget will expand our current business recruitment staff from one lonely existing full-time employee. We must continue the physical transformation of the Central City. Without exception, the Central City is our single best opportunity to manage growth. The more housing we build downtown and the more jobs we place there, the better able we are to protect existing neighborhoods from the pressure of growth. The more people who live and work downtown provide less congestions in our neighborhoods. That's why redevelopment of the Pearl District, River District, Old Town, and Chinatown are so important. That's why we will continue the transformation of the University District, the Rose Quarter, and North Macadam. Now, last year we made good progress on 2 redevelopment opportunities I added to our list. The I-405, Lower Goose Hollow, West End area, and the Civic Stadium. Thanks to the help of the surrounding neighborhoods and the American Society of Landscape Architects, we took a gaping I-405 eyesore and created private sector interest to cover it with new housing, parking, retail stores, and parks. Now we will push the project forward by securing air rights over the freeway and completing our preliminary engineering analysis. Next month, I will announce a steering committee to guide this work. Similar efforts this past year in the Civic Stadium area have produced interest in not only refurbishing our diamond in the rough stadium, but also improving surrounding neighborhood. Negotiations with a potential partner for the stadium are underway, and a spiffed-up facility will be a reality, and the entire district will benefit. Both in the Central City and citywide, our actions to create jobs must also close the gap between the rich and the poor. A recent national study confirms that since 1969, income of college graduates rose, while that of high school graduates declined 30%. Not a surprise. We know that workers with college-level skills do better on an increasingly knowledge and technology-based economy. That's why I will not give up the fight to adequately fund our schools. That is also why I'm working with Multnomah and Washington counties to build a strong, integrated, demand-driven regional workforce training system. Oh, I know. Mention workforce training and your eyes glaze over. But I challenge you to walk a mile in the shoes of someone trying to support a family on a minimum wage job. We must give all Portlanders the chance, the opportunity to share in our prosperity. We can be totally successful in all the job and economic development I've outlined today and still lose our prosperity if our businesses cannot compete worldwide. Portland is a city with economic borders that now stretch across all of North America, Asia, Europe, and Latin America. We have one of the fastest post offices in the nation, a great water, air, and land port, and no sales tax. To build on these strengths, last month, the port and other partners and I announced an international strategy that calls for new city-to-city business development agreements to promote Portland's environmental technology companies around the world, and also support the deepening of the Columbia River Navigational Channel, and to do it in a way that complements our environmental cleanup opportunities in the Portland Harbor. Transportation. A great city in control of its destiny is not stuck in a traffic jam, gridlock, or congestion. We took action last year to break out of that jam. We approved light rail to the airport. We opened West Side Max. We reached final agreement to build the Central City streetcar between Good Samaritan Hospital and Portland State University, thanks in large part to the work of City Commissioner Charlie Hales. Charlie, will you stand up? And I understand it's your birthday today, so happy birthday. Don't worry, you're all going to be able to stand up. We completed a study of my proposal to implement a fareless transit system, a study that gave a green light to a solid list of short-term recommendations to simplify fares and entice employers to offer employees free transit passes, immediately creating a more fareless system. Our work on all these actions will continue next year. That's the good news. We all know the bad news. Portland area traffic congestion is worse. worse than many larger urban areas, including Philadelphia, Baltimore, Denver, and Dallas, cities that do not necessarily make the top of our national lists for quality of life. Our regional automobile usage is up nearly 60% since 1980, and congestion chokes the quality of our life for longer periods each day. Though the region voters turned down South-North Light Rail, we cannot afford to stand still on transportation issues. If feasible, I support finding a way for Portland to build a shorter line within the city and urge that the environmental impact study be done for the North Portland segment this year. But in doing so, my support has a friendly condition. I believe that the days of a single issue, regional transportation ballot measures are over. We must have a regional transportation strategy that promotes a variety of solutions. Our ballot measures should do the same. For instance, if we were to craft a proposal that combines improvements to urban and suburban bus service, expands the central city streetcar to neighborhoods, offers more commuter lanes, includes a segment of the South-North Light Rail line, and elements of a fareless transit system, we could build a broader consensus and have a measure approved. Over the next few months, I will work with many others to review these short-term and long-term options. Our second chance for even a Portland-only light rail option will require not only a broad consensus of community support, but also a realistic assessment of its financial feasibility. A final exclamation point on transportation. In the next months, the state legislature will make crucial transportation funding choices. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that Portland and Oregon's roads have never been in worse condition. This is an economic issue that affects every citizen in this state. And once again, I urge the legislature to act responsibly and raise the gas tax for our transportation needs and eliminate the restrictions on its use. Public safety. No city can control its destiny if its people live in fear of crime and violence. As mayor and police commissioner, I have no greater responsibility than to protect and improve our quality of life to make this city a safer place. And today, Portland is safer than it has been in over a quarter of a century. And violent crimes such as murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault dropped 35% since the start of community policing in 1988. As you have heard me say before, improving the quality of life in North and Northeast Portland has been a special priority for me over the last 6 years. So it is especially gratifying that in the neighborhoods covered by the Northeast Precinct, the crime rate last year dropped 18%, and the murder rate went down 72% from the previous year. Not only are we statistically a safer city, but even more important is the fact that Portlanders feel safe. In the auditor's 1998 survey of Portland citizens, 88% of you said that you feel safe or very safe walking alone in the neighborhood during the day. 88% as compared to 77% in 1991. Portland is safer because we have paid special attention to juvenile violence, to domestic violence, to auto theft, and to graffiti. Juvenile violence is down in part because of the gun violence reduction strategy I proposed last summer and the creation of the Youth Gun Anti-Violence Task Force known as YGAT. YGAT and the gang enforcement team target the worst drug traffickers and violent gang members for swift and tough prosecution. They crack down on neighborhood violent hotspots and take illegal guns off the street. In the last 6 months, YGAT confiscated 127 illegal guns. Now, if the legislature wants to help us get illegal guns off the street, it must require background checks for all people who buy firearms at gun shows and flea markets. There is no rhyme or reason why a gun purchased from licensed dealers undergoes this check and everyone else selling guns goes scot-free. Our gun violence reduction effort has been one of the most collaborative in the nation, with federal, state, county, and city law enforcement agencies working together for peace in the streets. I would like to thank our precinct commanders, our officers, our community partners, Chief Moose, as well as our citizens who help us. I want to thank Commissioner Francisconi. Where are you, Jim? There he is. Wait a minute, don't applaud yet. You don't know what I'm going to say. I want to thank Commissioner Francisconi, who has taken on the flip side of the gun strategy, and that's the prevention side of this problem, with more youth employment opportunities and before and after school programs. Now, Jim, will you stand up? In last year's State of the City address, I said we would designate graffiti-free zones, areas in the city, and improve law enforcement and cleanup efforts. We did, and it's working. Since July, city and volunteer crews covered or removed 22,000 graffiti sites, painting 106,000 square feet of property, and several major graffiti vandals have been arrested. Convicted vandals can expect to do community service, pay restitution, pay fines or court fines, fees or court fines, and I hope some of them do jail time. We also targeted car thieves with the creation of the Auto Theft Task Force. And auto thefts are down 18% compared to last year, and they are the lowest since 1979. As a legislator, I helped make domestic violence a crime. As mayor, I made it a priority to enforce those laws with the creation of the Domestic Violence Unit. Since then, domestic violence calls to 911 have increased, and that's good, because that's a crime that's usually underreported. But nearly 50% of those domestic calls are repeat calls. We need to understand how to intervene sooner and prevent a tragedy before it happens. Last month, I assigned City Commissioner Dan Salzman the oversight of the 911 Center, and I look forward to our work together on this very important issue. Dan, will you please stand up? In the year ahead, we will continue all these efforts because we can always do better. And we'll develop new strategies for the next generation of community policing. Community policing is now 10 years old, and it's time to reflect on what works and what doesn't work and begin thinking about that next generation of a wonderful system that this community started. Education. Since I've already quoted Yogi Berra once, I'm sad to say that this part of the speech feels like deja vu all over again. I'm talking about K through 12 public education, the single most important challenge to controlling our destiny. But first imagine with me that you are a high school senior and you sit with 40 of your classmates in a room designed for only 30, with a teacher who cannot be expected to do a good job with more than 25. You never had the chance to learn a musical instrument because music, along with art and physical education, were eliminated in the last round of budget cuts. If you need help and you have a problem at home or with your peers, you have to take a number to see one of the few counselors left in the schools. Your textbooks are outdated and lab equipment is in short supply. Meanwhile, your governor, your legislature, your newspaper, and yes, even your mayor all tell you that there is nothing more important than education. Tell me, would you believe a word we have said? No, I don't think so. Too many children in this city and state are expected to learn in this difficult environment, and too many parents are getting bone-weary tired of putting up with it, and quite frankly, I don't blame them. Earlier, I discussed the outflow of taxes from the Portland area to the rest of the state. This is how the numbers look for K through 12 education. The Portland area pays nearly $1.1 billion in taxes and lottery proceeds to the state annually. We get back slightly more than $800 million for our schools. This produces a net annual outflow from the Portland metropolitan area of $275 million a year. You heard me right, $275 million a year. With the legislature now in session and serving as the de facto statewide school board, my overriding state of the city message on education is this: give us and all the schools in Oregon the resources to do the job that we all say is important. As I said earlier, I was proud to stand with the Coalition for School Funding Now in the last legislative session, and this year I will stand with them again. Our goal is to realize a state school funding base of approximately $4.9 billion and an additional $400 million to achieve the higher state standards. As we work with all Oregonians to lobby the state legislature, our local efforts to support quality education must continue. Last week, Superintendent Ben Canada took some flack at a community meeting for suggesting raising the graduation requirements from 22 to 26 credits. In response to his proposal, he ripped it up. Well, I had my staff fish that document out of the trash bin, and I taped it back together again. I want to buck up our new superintendent with a little support because I applaud his efforts, and so should you. By the way, it's a great document. In his speech last week here at the City Club, Dr. Canada asked for $1 million to start a summer school program to get kids to the grade level and put an end to social promotions. I applaud that. I believe adding academic time to our schools is the best way our children can meet higher academic standards. Schools across the state are lengthening their school days. If the Greater Albany School District can do it, so can we. Redmond and Woodburn have lengthened their school year, And other districts are adding summer school, Saturday academy, and tutoring classes at night, and so should we. So I will propose to the City Council, and I hope they will agree, that we provide at least $1 million that Superintendent Canada requested for summer school to end social promotions and to get the youngsters up to grade level. And ask him to develop the program in cooperation with Portland's 5 other school districts. All of our children deserve to succeed, and we cannot, as a community, fail them. Livability. Livability is the quality of life where you live, work, and play. It's how well your surroundings fit your own answer to the question, what do I want from my city? Portlanders feel good about the livability of their neighborhoods. The auditor's 1998 survey reports 84% of us rate our neighborhood livability as good or very good, and that's up from 77% in 1993, and with the most dramatic increases occurring in North and Northeast Portland. As a mayor, I spent a lot of time in each neighborhood of the city. So I know that as positive as this report card is, that our own livability is a fragile thing that needs to be nurtured constantly and taken care of. Our actions to ensure a destiny that is livable begins with the Willamette River and extends to all the borders of Portland and the region. Our work underway is dynamic and exciting. Let's start with the river. As the first urban watershed in the United States to have a native species listed as threatened, we are committed to changing the way we do business as a city and to repair our rivers, our streams, our wetlands, and our native fish runs. Improvements to our combined sewer overflow will play a significant role in cleaning up the river. But another promising initiative is a possible agreement with PGE to remove the Little Sandy Dam and return the river to its fullest flow. This is the most productive action we could take to restore our salmon runs. And I want to thank City Commissioner Eric Sten for the excellent work he's doing on this issue. Eric, are you here? Will you please stand up? On the riverbank itself, construction is underway to build a new East Side waterfront park, the only real East Side waterfront park. On the west side at River Place, a greenway and park are growing out of a thicket of industrial debris. Also at the river's edge, we are reclaiming an industrial brownfield in the name of River District and another brownfield in the name of North Macadam. And in the River District, we will see the construction of a Chinese classical garden. I got it in again this year. On the east side of the central city, Lower East Burnside is planning its renaissance, and new housing continues to flourish around the Lloyd District. Traveling to the north and northeast, our years of effort to revitalize Northeast with public investment in housing and streets and retail is paying off. This year, we begin work with the residents of St. John's to discuss what neighborhood improvements they would like to see in their neighborhood. Moving farther east, the neighborhood name for the grand old Hollywood Theater is working with us to upgrade their business district, their streetscape, and housing opportunities. Moving again further east, at the very heart of Portland, Gateway neighbors are working with us to improve their regional center with new parks, more housing, and more amenities. And to the south, neighbors in Lentz have received an urban renewal designation, and they asked the city for that designation so they could be partners with us to improve the quality of life in their neighborhood. As we improve neighborhoods in the city, we also need to address what I think are nagging, legitimate neighborhood livability complaints. Conflicts between residential and business uses, airport noise, poorly designed homes, location of adult businesses, speeding traffic, expensive housing, dogs in the park, dogs with leashes, dogs without leashes, lack of city services, lax code enforcement, electronic video signs, and the Y2K millennium bug, and lack of housing and amenities for families. These are today's issues that need answers yesterday. The fact that many of the answers to these complaints are not simple or easily achieved is no excuse for our lack of effort on our part. I will advocate this year, and I know my council will join me, for the following set of initiatives to improve neighborhood livability. The city will seek legislative and voter approval for a constitutional amendment allowing us to zone adult businesses away from residential areas. In my next two-year budget, I will propose to the City Council a package of initiatives to increase enforcement of our livability codes, such as traffic speed, noise, and violations to our environment. We will invest $69 million this year for housing, and we will be looking for creative financing tools to maintain our affordable housing efforts. And I stood here at the City Club a couple of weeks ago and made a commitment to Gretchen Kafori before this very group that I will keep my focus on affordable housing, and I intend to do it. Where is Gretchen? This year, the City Council is slated to enact good design standards for the entire city, and Charlie is nodding his head. It's about time. I will work with neighbors and providers along with Commissioner Salzman and Commissioner Stin and County Commissioners Diana Lynn and Lisa Nadeau. Is Diana Lynn and Lisa Nadeau? Diana, why don't you stand up? And Lisa, is Lisa here? To establish better guidelines for siting public facilities such as correctional halfway houses in residential areas. We will pursue legislative authority to allow us to impose system development charges for new development to pay for schools and for services like police and fire. And lastly, city government will be ready for Y2K. You know, only one person applauded when the President of the United States mentioned it. We will be ready for Y2K. In addition to these livability initiatives, we will take actions to make Portland a more family-friendly city. And city government will lead by example. We will provide more flex time and alternative work schedules to allow our city workers to help at schools, to work with their children or other people's children. We will provide more child care for our own city family. The Police Bureau this year opened a daycare center, and we are exploring doing the same thing at the Portland building. This is good for our city, plus it saves us money, because for every $1 spent on family-friendly policies, $2 in direct cost savings is achieved through employee retention, reduced absenteeism, and increased performance. One more artful thought on livability. Nowhere is our livability potentially better fulfilled than in our experience with the arts. And that's why I asked the City Council, and they said yes over the last few years, for $1 million each for the Portland Art Museum, $1 million for the Oregon Symphony, $1 million for the Oregon Ballet, and yes, the Portland Opera will be next. Finally, the city will celebrate the millennium by leaving small and large legacies for the generations to come, I hope, all over the city. As 1999 unfolds, you will have a chance to get involved as groups or as individuals and participate in millennium projects to improve our city. I hope you do. This is a once-in-a-100 lifetime opportunity. In closing, let me remind you of the old-fashioned word, commonweal. It means the common welfare for the public good, concepts that must never become quaint or outdated if our democracy is to survive and to thrive. Some say we live in a cynical times when the notion of commonweal is old-fashioned and outdated, and I'm not going to waste an ounce of my breath or a minute of your time adding to that cynicism. The vision and the actions that I have outlined today will help us make history, not just watch it, decide our future, not just accept it. I've been accused at various times by a variety of individuals about worrying too much about details and not about seeing the big picture. But it is in the details that the big picture becomes clear. It is in the details that we help people lift themselves from poverty, start a business, support a family, educate their children, buy a home, retire with dignity, and elevate their senses through the arts and through exchange of ideas. I consider myself one of the luckiest human beings on this planet. Each day, I wake up in this wonderful city and fall in love all over again with Portland and with Portlanders. Now, people ask me every day if I'm going to run again. Aha, I got your attention, didn't I? It would be premature to answer that question so far. So far from the next election, but I can tell you this right now. It would be hard to say no to another term when so much good work is underway and so much potential is yet to be realized. At the edge of the new millennium, Portland is both the city and a possibility, the best hope for urban America. The hope that people can still come together and make a different kind of home, based on a spirit of community, based on mutual responsibility, and based on respect. A place where they can find sanctuary in something meaningful and something lasting. Now, as we look forward to a new century, proud of our past, proud to be held to a higher standard, we must pledge to our children, in your time, Portland will still be a place where women and men can control their own destiny and boast, "This is my hometown, and I helped build it." Thank you.